We'll call this Stanley City Council meeting to order Tuesday, March 14th, 2023 at 7 p.m. Thank you all for coming. And I would just like to say one thing. If you have comments or anything, please come up to the podium and use the microphone so we can hear you. Because there's old guys on here like me that can't hear. So with that being said, we are going to open up with this public hearing allowing chickens in the city limit, and I'm going to defer to Ryan, our attorney.
So currently the way the ordinances are read, you can't have, you can only have chickens in a commercial area where you basically are in the business of livestock. It's subsection 5 of the ordinance of 11.0107 subsection 5. And there it basically states that you cannot be within 250 feet. If you have that type of a business, you can't be within 250 feet of a residence, residentially zoned lot or residence. So, and then if you look at the 11.0107 subsection 1 double A and wait, hold on here. Double A and double E, that you can't possess, no person shall keep, maintain, or harbor within the corporate limits of the city any of the following animals. Any animal controlled or governed by the North Dakota Game and Fish, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, or the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And they do govern chickens. So in order to have it within the residence, you have to amend the ordinance for that to happen. So to have chickens.
I brought this to the city's attention last thing, so I figure I should go first and represent those that do want chickens within the city limits. We pride ourselves in being called a community with rural charm that values the traditions of the past. Rural means in relationship to the country and people, life, or agriculture. Some of our biggest businesses are our tractor and implement dealers. We support the FFA, and we let our kids drive tractors to school, which I love about our small town community. But I would like the option to raise chickens. My daughter has really wanted to do that, and to see how what we eat, how that's effective. And last time we kind of went over the pros of having backyard chickens and the cons. I don't know if you want me to do that again, but I feel like if we put an ordinance in place, it can take care of a lot of the problems with that I see people having with chickens in town, which is the cleanliness of them and the sounds, like getting rid of the roosters. I think there's laws against animal cruelty. So if people aren't taking care of their animals, dogs, cats, chickens, or whatever, there's a consequence for that. And I think we are responsible people that can take care of animals on our property and do that in a safe and careful way. And so I believe that we should be allowed to have chickens. My daughter is the one that kind of spurred me to action. And so I'm going to let her just say a few little things just because I think it's important that she does her civic duty. So, Holland.
I've been interested to where my food comes from. Lately, I like helping my mom make cookies from scratch, putting all the ingredients in to make something yummy. I've also been reading Little House on the Prairie. It's so interesting to read how they had to grow and raise all of their food. I really like the opportunity to gain the life skill of raising chickens. Thank you.
So I'll turn the time over to anybody else that would like to comment. Like, I'm done. So.
Well, thank you very much for your comments.
My name is Angela Marie Swider. I recently moved here about 2 years ago. We moved our house. And I do second this amendment that was brought up, that it should be amended and revisited. They have like tons of chickens up there over at the Tractor and Supply, and I would love to be able to purchase one, bring it to my 2 double lots, and show how we can educationally raise a chicken at our home responsibly, like they did historically. You know, just that educational balance would maybe help some of the residents. And,
Okay,
you know,
thank you for your comments.
you're very welcome.
Next, anyone else with comments? Anybody else want to make comments on this? Okay.
I just have a question on how this is going to be policed or enforced. There's rules and regulations. Who's going to be in charge of doing that? And what happens, say, any number of dog that gets out of their fence or off their leash gets after somebody's chicken, is there a penalty for the dog owner? That's just an example that I've thought of, that I know a lot of people have hunting dogs. Their main job is to hunt birds, and there's tons of them in their backyards. What's gonna happen to them if they do happen to get a hold of one? So
That's a good comment too. So thank you for that.
So is that a yay or a nay? If I can offer a little color, and we challenged the community, we weren't sure if we had this right or wrong. So kind of what I'm doing here is a little tally, my yays and my nays. So if somebody has a deep resounding thought, it's just what I'm doing, because if this was, we asked for the public's input, I'd like to know what the public has to say.
Comment to her question. I wrote kind of a mini ordinance when I presented this to the city, just for them to think about. And part of if a chicken gets out, a dog should not be held responsible, because they are trained to do that. So I had as the procedure for granting for chicken permits that I presented to the city, that no dog or cat that kills a chicken will, for that reason alone, be considered a dangerous or aggressive animal. They're doing what their natural instincts are. And so it's no fault of either owner. So there shouldn't be necessarily, I feel like, anything responsible for that animal or for the owner. It's responsible. The person that owns a chicken is responsible to keep it penned and safe. And one of the other things that we wrote is that they cannot be not within their coop or their run unless the owner is with them. So if a chicken got out, it was from negligence, and it should not. I didn't feel like it should be a responsibility of either owner.
To second that one, you know, dogs get out all the time and go to properties and attack bird nests, or just properties and just do little doodles. And, you know, that isn't really governed through the city much, or it is through the ordinance of having a leash on your dog at all times. And that leash prevents any dog from ever pursuing a neighbor. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments?
I guess I'd like to just add on to what Ty said. I'm sitting here right now, be 100% transparent. I got for and against wrote on my paper. And in order for us to make a solid, unbiased choice due to the public hearing, whether you're for it or against it, you need to let us know that. By just being here, I can't go through the crowd and look at everybody and make an educated guess as to, well, I know them and I know them and I know them. I think that maybe they like chickens, but then I also know these guys, and maybe there's a chance they don't like chickens. So if you are willing to leave it in the hands of us 6 with no comment, we will rule on it. I don't know if we can we legally ask, show of hands, who's for this, count them up, and use that as one of our,
I'm gonna say no.
right.
I'd rather hear the comments anyway on both sides of it. I think it's important to hear them. So next, sure.
Hi, Shandy Camino. I didn't actually intend to come up here, but I am all in for chickens. I don't know if you bought groceries at the grocery store lately, but eggs are getting ridiculous and they're getting really hard to find, along with produce and a lot of other things. And one of the things people in North Dakota do, we hunt for meat, we garden for vegetables, and if we could grow our own chickens, I think a lot of us would benefit from that. I think currently we allow the people of Stanley to have dogs, and we expect them to, am I too loud? Oh, okay. I was using my teacher voice though, so. Oh, gotcha. Okay. We allow people to have dogs, and we expect them to keep it on a leash and to scoop up the poop in their yard and to have a fence and to do all of the things that a dog needs. And we allow people to have cats, and we expect them to do all of the things that cats need. And I think that chickens could fall into the same realm of, yep, we trust our citizens to have these creatures in their care. And if they don't take care of it, gosh, dang, that sucks. It's on you that your chickens didn't survive or that your yard was stinky and you got a citation from City Hall that says you got to clean up your mess. But I think to say that we're not going to allow you to feed yourself your own homegrown eggs, I think we're just kind of doing a disservice to our people because, one, I think they're capable. I think most of us would do the research and would build the fence and would have the coop and the heater and buy the right feed. And we would keep our chicken food in a rat-proof container so that we didn't harbor this infestation problem. I think most of us would take really good care of our chickens, and we would benefit tremendously because we would have eggs, we would have affordable eggs, we would have healthier eggs. And I think it would be great if the people were given the opportunity to try that. And I don't think that there would be a heavy burden in enforcing it. Because I know that's kind of a question that some have is who's going to police it. But I think that for the most part, the people could be trusted to care for their creatures. That's all.
Thank you for your comments.
And I'm just gonna say, I agree with everything she said, but there should be a limit to the, as many chickens as you should have, like 5.
Okay.
I'll just ask, would you like me to read the ordinance that I had kind of wrote up for the city, or do you, no? Okay.
I wasn't seeing chat, but, okay. Hello.
Hi.
I'm Wanda Nelson, and I am for having the chickens, and I am very much in favor of people being responsible. You don't deserve any pets if you're not planning on taking care of them. The biggest thing I see is that only country kids can have chickens in 4-H. And if they wanted to raise them as a 4-H chicken for the egg, learning where the meat comes from, this is wonderful. It is shocking, even in our own schools where I now work, the people who are like, you do what? You get meat where? You really do that? It is very educational for them. It truly is. And I agree. I haven't read her ordinance, but it sounds like she's really got her ducks in a row. Excuse the pun, but a limit on the chickens, keeping them up, keeping them clean, and there shouldn't be any problems. With that said, you know there will be. We have problems with cats and dogs because there are irresponsible people out there. Do we punish those people for the people who are very reliable? So I just want to be on saying that I am definitely for the chickens.
Thank you, Wanda, for your comments.
Hi, I'm in the category with Amy. I am a hard no for the chickens. I agree, having your own food and doing all of that. We know we have irresponsible pet owners, there's stray dogs, stray cats, whatever. That's hard to police and maintain. I can tell you, I don't want the smell of chickens next door to me or anywhere around me. My husband and I have talked to, yes, if a chicken gets out or something happens and it's laying dead somewhere, what other kind of animal is that gonna bring in then that smells that dead chicken? Yes, I agree with Wanda too. You have very responsible pet owners who do everything right, the leash, everything. And I do admit you are gonna probably have some very responsible chicken owners, but what about those who aren't? I mean, you have people in town who can't mow their lawn, they can't shovel when they're supposed to, they don't clean up garbage out of your yard. I just think if you add chickens to that, we're gonna have more of a mess.
Thank you. That's fine. Take your time.
Oh, yeah, how come you didn't tell me about those?
No, I
Jeez. No. Okay. My name is Diane Hellman, and I am no chickens. Just some things that I have here written down here, and I discussed with my sister who has had chickens, and this is kind of some of her thoughts too. Diseases. The number one thing is what we thought about. Chickens, there's just different things, and I don't know all of them, but there's E. coli, there's the bird flu, and that's one, the bird flu, I guess is airborne. So if you get one flock that's gonna have the bird flu, airborne, I mean, it's really sad if every chicken in town then would die because you can't isolate them as much as you would have to isolate them. Okay, so that's just an example. Because of that, the diseases, there would be the shortage of eggs. If you have birds, you're gonna draw more birds to that area. That's just how that works, apparently. Well, it's gonna kill your grass. It's gonna be stinky, no matter how much you clean keep it clean as much as you have to and can. They're animals. They're they're farm animals, basically. They're gonna be stinky. The fly population will increase, noisy, because they are gonna be noisy, and it might interrupt and disturb your neighbors. And I think on the poster, it was no roosters, which, thank you. And then chicken catchers, because those chickens are gonna get out. I've seen chickens fly way up on top of a fence. They're gonna get out. Who's gonna go catch it? And if you have roaming chickens, there you go. I think it said too something about not visible to your neighbors. How are you gonna do that? Keep the chickens enclosed all the time? I mean, there's some of us that are home all the time. So we're gonna see your chickens and we're gonna see the mess. Another one too is my thought was, okay, if one person has chickens, can we all have chickens? And if every family in here has chickens, think about that. So I don't know, I guess is there a limit to how many is there a permit to have the chickens? Is there gonna be a limit on permits? And a limit on how many, 3, I'd rather do 0, but is there a limit? I'm just saying that, putting that out there. And again, the stray cats and the stray dogs, they're out there. They're gonna be drawn to those chickens. Because like I said, even if the chickens are there and they get out of whatever enclosure you have, I mean, I have a fence in between me and my neighbor, but our dog goes out in the fence and, running around with that chicken. Maybe there's a disease. Is it going to come over and get into my dog? And then some of those diseases can be passed on to humans. I mean, it's rare, I think. I'm not sure. I don't have all the facts on all that, but I think it can be passable. They call it what, zoononic or something like that. But anyway, okay, so if your child who has a pet, or if you are taking care of your chickens, you don't wash your hands thoroughly, but especially if the child goes to school, is it going to go through everybody at school, these diseases? I mean, that's just one of the big things that I was thinking about. Let's see, I'd already talked about the permits and the limit. Okay, I think that's what I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Next.
Hello, my name
Hi.
is Cindy Gatlin. I am for having chickens in the city of Stanley. I believe they'd be beneficial as a food source, also as a learning resource for children. This is a rural community. I don't see why you would not allow people to have some of these within limits, and as long as they're responsible with them, there shouldn't be a problem. But I don't like talking in public. So.
Well, thank you for commenting.
Brian Hischlin. And on the other end of things, as far, I'm with the volunteer fire department in Stanley. And, there's a lot of things that come into play with chickens in the winter, and it's going to be heated coops with straw and hay in them. Are you going to be able to have setbacks far enough away from any structure to prevent us from a chicken coop spreading to a fence, to a house, to a garage? And that's my main concern with chickens, and I'm against chickens.
Okay, thank you.
How's it going? I'm Boomer, and I'm either or. I just feel like this body of government shouldn't really tell people if they want chickens or shouldn't have chickens. If you want chickens, then you do you. If you don't want chickens, then don't raise them. But I really don't think that anybody here should really tell anybody what they should do on their own property. I mean, if you pay taxes, I thought this was America. So that's just my 2 cents.
Thank you. Other comments? This is your opportunity to make the comments, so.
Still on check.
My name is Molly Hamilton, and I believe that we should have chickens within the city limits, and that if you do have chickens, you should raise them properly. But I also believe that we should have rabbits within the city limits.
Thank you for your comment.
Well, David Gustafson, I'm against chickens. I grew up on a farm and whatnot. I can really recall the smell of chickens, the ammonia from that and whatnot. And in the springtime when that stuff started to thaw, you couldn't be anywhere near it. It just stunk so bad, and we have that in town. How are you going to keep that under control? There's no way of doing that. Thank you.
Thanks for your comment.
First of all, I just wanted to say it's good to be able to see all the participation from everybody. One thing that I can appreciate is my direct neighbors. I care about what they think. And I would say that I wouldn't have chickens if either any of my neighbors near me would not like me to. I mean, I guess I see it like having a fence. You know, you need to talk to your neighbor. You know, we need to have that relationship with them that we can discuss that, because I don't think it would be a good thing to try that. If they were against it, I don't think it would be good. But I am for chickens. There are definitely, you know, positives and negatives. I can definitely see that. I personally feel like the positives outweigh the negatives, as long as the right boundaries are set. I think that it's possible to, you know, to be a good thing. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment.
Hi, I'm Sarah Curto. I have to say I'm against it just because I know it's been said about dogs and cats out. That's exactly it. The people here in Stanley, yes, there's some that are very responsible and take care of them to the T, but there's a lot that don't. There's strays everywhere. And if you add chickens in that, they're going to be out. They're going to be in my yard, even if I have a fence. They're going to be on the streets. They're going to be, and yeah, who's going to catch them? Who's going to take care of them? Yeah, those stray dogs can kill them, or the cats, but okay. Do we want dead chickens everywhere? Do we want chickens running alive everywhere? It's a concern for me. I guess that part is. And the diseases too, I guess. I've thought, you know, these families, you'll have responsible ones, but someone might not be. They might not wash their hands. They might go. You might spread bird flu or anything else. So yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Bev Nessett, and I'm a definite no. And I mean, I grew up on a farm. We raised chickens all the time. I raised chickens with my children and husband. I mean, I know what they're like, but we lived out of town. And when I moved into town 13 years ago, Stevens and I can vouch for this, what it's like for the people that aren't taking care of their chickens. The feathers were flying. Our neighbors had them illegally. Feathers were flying everywhere. It stunk so bad in the backyard, you couldn't stand it because no one's cleaning up. And I mean, there's probably lots of them. They're going to be raising them the proper way, but there's going to be just as many that aren't taking care of them properly. And I mean, I'm all for healthy things and everything, but these aren't like free range chickens when they're just kept in their pen all day long either. You know, and if we're going to have it 3 to 5 or something, I mean, you're going to get 3 eggs a day. And in the wintertime, you're going to have 6 months where you don't get any. You know, it's not this profitable business they think they're getting. And I mean, I know there's a lot of people that can have them and can do it properly and they'll be fine, but we're going to have just as many that aren't doing it right. And it was not nice when they were next to us.
Okay, thank you.
I'm Molly Kingsley, and I think everybody should have their own choice. I don't think just because you say, okay, everybody, you can get chickens, the whole town's going to get chickens. I'm sure not. So I think it's just the responsible ones will have them, probably a few irresponsible, just like cat and dog owners. So.
Okay, thank you. Other comments?
I'm yay for chickens. As far as the concerns from neighbors and whatnot, I didn't know it wasn't okay to raise chickens within city limits. A couple of years ago, raised 4 underneath my deck, nice little coop, etc., for almost a year. And my neighbors never even knew they were there until I gave them eggs, of which they were really appreciative of. So I really don't think there are a whole massive amount of concerns, and especially, I mean, as the lady just said, I mean, not everybody's going to go out and get chickens, actually. I would wager that very few will, because they are kind of a pain in the butt to keep clean, keep the coops clean. But at that point, if you're taking care of them properly, there isn't a smell, there isn't a hazard. If you're taking care of them properly, you're not going to let them get out because you care about them. So backyard chicken raising has become a fad across America. So I think that we should be able to. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? This is the time to be heard, for or against.
Well, I guess I'll say I'm against it just because of everything everybody else has said. You got your smells, your diseases, your dogs, cats, all that stuff. And then you also got kind of what Brian alluded to with the placement of your coops and stuff like that and your lights. And is this stuff, I mean, are we gonna like do like how we build stuff in town? I mean, does it gotta be 8 feet, 8 feet, 8 feet off your property lines? I mean, a lot of people are gonna wanna shove these things in the corner of their backyard, you know, right up against the alley. And then you got, if you got a fence, you got dogs that are going up there and barking at them all the time, no matter what. I mean, it's just, I don't think it's good. I mean, and the smell, I mean, I don't wanna be sitting in my backyard smelling that all summer. So that's what I got. Thanks.
Thanks for your comments. Next.
My name is Jacqueline Spiegel, and I am for voting on chickens. I think that I've always lived in towns that have chickens. I always wish that I could have chickens, but I know that's not something that I could do. But I really think that a good idea would be to put it to a vote to kind of see what the town in full would like. I know that a lot of people couldn't be here today, but I know that it's something that quite a few people that have always raised chickens and have been responsible for raising chickens, and they know how to raise chickens. You know, they moved here just assuming because it was a small town kind of in the middle of nowhere that they would be able to have chickens, and they can't. And we all know that chicken prices have gone sky high from, you know, the avian flu, and we know that there are pros and cons to both of it. But a lot of people have relied on community members to get their eggs and haven't been able to get it at the grocery store during different times during the pandemic when, you know, the avian flu hit. We've relied on those community members to be able to get those eggs to help feed our families and to be able to at least have the opportunity for people that are responsible enough. You know, you can have set guidelines and to decide who's responsible, but to be able to just have that as an option, I think that it should be kind of opened up and look at what everyone thinks. So I appreciate you guys obviously having this forum, but I think that there are a lot of people here that couldn't be here that also would like to weigh in on this. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
And to comment to you on that is 100% in your right as a citizen of Stanley is to put a petition together and get it placed on the June ballot. That doesn't revolve around this council. We don't get to say, nope, that can't be on a ballot. Yes, that can be on a ballot. That you guys put that together, you circulate your petition, you get it, the signatures approved on it as being part of this political subdivision. And I don't know what the numbers is. It's a percentage, I believe, of the last vote that you have to have. But it's not a number that's not on it or that is attainable. So not gonna lie, that's gonna take the heat right off of all of us in a great big way to put it out there like that. And
Well,
that's what America, that's what North Dakota, that's what the city of Stanley on things like this. I don't see a problem with it.
personally, I guess I agree with that. I think it would be maybe the better way to go. Then you get it across the whole city. You get to see the idea of the whole city. In here, there's people that don't feel like getting up. I know that feeling. I mean, they don't feel like getting up and coming up to the microphone. Well, you're not going to be represented one way or the other that way. And I mean, that's totally your choice, but so it's not really a fair, we're not getting a fair picture, I don't think, of which side to go. So I've got 3 letters here. I'm not going to read them, but one's from Cheryl Weisenberger. And she is a definite no. One is from Walter and Judy Arneson, and they are definitely no's. And one's from Judy Johnson, that's a definite no. So I just thought I'd bring that to your attention. And next, whoever wants to comment.
Hi, I'm Katie Harwood. I probably wasn't going to say anything until the last person had come up about putting it up to a vote, because I think everyone has made some pretty good points tonight on both sides. And I'll say, as someone who did not raise chickens, I did not grow up in a rural area. If it were put to me right now, I'm leaning more towards no, but I'm not opposed to listening. And it sure would be helpful to be given some more information and some more time, because everyone here has made some really good points tonight, whether they're in, I don't know, everyone, I really appreciated Boomers and Bez and Brian and everyone here tonight who had those points made. And I just want to say that I'm not opposed to listening to the sides of the argument. All I am is just a worried citizen. And I think that's valid to say I'm worried about what it might mean to allow it. But I think
that's fair, yeah.
But I think if we maybe had a little bit more information, it might be helpful. Because I think it's Amanda, sorry. She also came very prepared tonight with some good facts. And I'm sorry if this sounds like I'm just kind of right on the fence here, but the vote sounds really good, because this isn't even a small percentage of our town tonight, so. Okay.
I would just like to speak up a little bit on the bird flu. I'm not an expert, but I want you all to know that it's not called chicken flu. It's called bird flu for a reason. And if you're concerned about your children handling something, please don't let them touch the dead birds in your yard, because that is where the biggest spread is. That concerns me when I hear people saying, if you got chickens, now I'm afraid of your kid in school, because I'm afraid of everybody's kids in school in their hands where they've been. After working at the nursing home for 15 years, I wash my hands so much that I have a tough time keeping them healthy. But that's me. But hygiene is very important, extremely important. But the bird flu comes mostly from your birds in your yards, and the sparrows are your biggest carriers. The chickens are not going to increase that in your city. Okay?
Thank you. Other comments?
I get to play devil's advocate. Good evening, council members. My name is Lieutenant Jenkins. As everybody's been discussing, you guys all have valid points on both sides of the fence. I grew up in California, where they have chicken farms. Chickens stink. Chickens are dirty. We don't have the climate up here, but they create and they make a habitat for some of the largest spiders, tarantulas, and they're pretty nasty, but we don't have to worry about that up here. My biggest thing is in Amanda's proposal is the enforcement side and managing the whole process. Our current city ordinance, it's crazy, but it is actually a Class B misdemeanor if you violate the ordinance. So you write you into court, you show up in court, and it's a severe penalty. So that is something that before I ask of the city council, before they make a decision, is to be able to sit down and break down the penalties, the fines, who's in charge. We've got two avenues. Amanda and I with planning and zoning have talked about this in regards to the proposal. There's some structure requirements that I've also verified looking at stuff as far as how much square footage is needed for their coops and as far as their walking areas. I understand what the square footage and stuff like that is. I do construction work and stuff like that. The fencing, that is a fixed structure. So that's something that we would have to work with Amanda with, where they have a fixed structure in there that falls under planning and zoning. The chicken coop itself is a movable structure. So there's no governing factor. There's nobody that says, hey, we got to look at it. It's just if you put a shed out there. Hence Brian's comment, the last chicken roast we had was a shed that they had, and then they had a faulty wiring. So there's a lot that needs to be looked at before you can just say, let's have chickens. I know I've had a lot of people stop me on the street, ask me about chickens. A lot of people weren't for chickens, but I had equal amounts for the chickens. I know a lot of people want the eggs. Unfortunately, 5 chickens for me a day, that's not enough eggs. So it doesn't do me any good to have chickens. I don't want chickens. I don't want any more pets. I've got 2 little kids, and that's my animal farm. So that's where I'm at. So I would just ask to sit down and kind of reevaluate and kind of look at things. The second part of it is I know some people that want to have things, they start off strong, like dogs. I know phenomenal dog owners in town, and I know dog owners that they don't care. I talked to Ada, and I think right now the population, maybe 1%, follow the city ordinance as far as coming in and licensing and showing the vaccinations of the animals. Leash laws, I don't know what that is because I see dogs running all the time. Then the only way that I'm going to catch an animal is if I tase it or throw a trap on it or it gets hit by a car. I'll be honest. Okay, dogs run around here quite a bit. Cats are the same way. And yes, we do hold people accountable. Unfortunately, it's after three contacts with somebody and their animal, I have to remove the animal as far as our city ordinance. And I usually take it out to a shelter. If they can't rehabilitate the animal in a week's time, they euthanize it. They put the dog down. So these are just some of the things that we have to take into effect. Chicken, I don't really know what the process would be to euthanize a chicken. I think I'd call that dinner. But and I grew up in that field. So when I was her age, you're about what, 7? 6 or 7? 9? I'm old. I should stop guessing at this stuff. I used to run around at a friend's. They had a junkyard in California, and we'd go and catch chickens. And then I would watch Thelma. It was her name. Beautiful black lady that chopped the heads off the chickens, and she told me to go catch the chicken again. Well, that was just appalling. But that fried chicken was pretty good that night. I ain't gonna lie. So there's a lot of avenues as far as how everything needs to go. Everybody says that they stink and stuff like that. I know I talked with Ada too, because the fecal matter, chicken poop, is very caustic. There's only 2 ways that it breaks down, is rainwater and cold temperatures. I guess we all both on our sides. But the other problem is the disposal side of it that I double checked. Circle Sanitation did agree that they will take the poop as long as it's bagged. So some of the pros and cons, or some of the arguments is to not have chickens have been disposed or dispelled. So it's not so bad. The other thing is it's just basically trying to figure out who's going to be in charge of maintaining the chickens. I know there was a permit fee as far as the chickens, and then just what we need to do about it. And that's the biggest thing I asked you guys. I talked to Chief Litton, and we both kind of had a conversation, kind of riding almost the same page a little bit. But we both realized that we have to have a city ordinance change. So there's a couple readings that need to take place in that, where he would be able to sit down and we can figure this out. I know someone in the back made a comment that they would love to see me chasing a chicken on the road. Guess what? It ain't gonna happen. Mr. Pulver, it's bad enough when you guys try and watch me chase a dog. That's why I have jerky in my car. And I don't think there's not too many ways to call a chicken unless it's hungry and wants to eat. So I am not gonna be one that says yay or nay on this. You know, I think people, if you want to do what you want to do, you should have the ability to. The last couple that I mentioned, I do feel that it should be an open poll to the city of Stanley. I know that there's neighbors that won't appreciate it and so forth. So I think it should be an open floor essentially. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for dragging me into this, by the way. I was sitting over there.
Oh, you thought you were going to leave this to me. I pulled you in as soon as I read that ordinance.
Thank
that
you,
was
Lieutenant
proposed.
Jenkins.
You're welcome,
Just to
Manager.
let everybody know, if they have to have a fenced-in area where your neighbors cannot see, I am assuming that is going to be a backyard fence. Our ordinance does require that you find your property pins prior to that backyard fence going up. Even he had to find his. And if you cannot, you do have to call a surveyor. They charge by the hour per pin, I'm assuming. Okay, look at it, Zach. So it will get pricey on top of whatever chicken coop you design. I kind of agree with Jenkins. We need to have some sit downs between staff trying to figure out who's enforcing what's enforcing. I know that I don't enforce animals currently right now, but obviously I would have to be involved depending on how elaborate your chicken coop is going to be. Are they going to be considered personal property? Are they not? Are you going to allow them to be housed under a deck that's connected to a house, or are you going to allow them to be in a Morton shed that's on skids? That's considered personal property. I can't touch it. So some of those things I feel like kind of maybe need to be clarified so that we can do our jobs efficiently.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
I think in the event that this goes to a citywide vote, and that was, it's going to take a lot of planning. I think Todd is going to be in the middle of that because there still has to be an ordinance that controls this. And definitely you're going to be involved in this, you and the department, because you guys are going to be controlling it. You're going to be controlling the building of any kind of structures. So it's, there's a lot to this thing. It's not going to get decided in a meeting like this. I'm glad we got the comments out because that's what you need to do to begin this. And I think, but in order to move this forward, I don't think that we should be making a decision on whether we'd allow chickens in town, to be honest with you, to change that ordinance. That ordinance was written by and re-looked at again by our planning and zoning committee, and I mean, they took all of this into consideration. And I'm not talking against having the chickens. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying the whole city should vote on this rather than 6 members of a city council.
Yeah.
Because it's going to put a lot of work on you guys, well, on everybody.
Yeah, there's multiple facets to the process. And that's basically, I just wanted to say, let's take a minute and break it down. So, since you're spearheading this, yeah, exactly. I mean, and I'm willing to do that and to kind of work it so that way it does work. I don't know. We're not going to know the details tomorrow, but a couple months, 3 months down the road, maybe we can have something that we can put out there.
Mr. Mayor,
Mary,
if you're going to put it to a vote, you do realize that your next city election is not till June of 2024. That's my point.
true. We'd have, yeah.
So they would have plenty of time, but I didn't want them to think this was a vote next June. The next citywide election is not till June of 2024.
Okay, thank you for that.
It's a point.
Other comments? if there's no further comments, I think we can kind of go from here. You know, as far as a board goes, and you know, us deciding on anything here, I think the most we could do is basically decide to table this until you guys come up with a petition or something like that. So anything official coming from here, I think, would be hard to get. So.
Yeah, I'm a little advocate here. I thought it was gonna be a runaway one way or the other, and it is not, so I tried.
Just for the fun of it, what is it?
Oh, let's see, pretty much a dead heat. So, yeah.
And I expect that, I guess, in a citywide election, I think people are gonna be.
I was hoping I'd have it more clear. Yep, here's what we gotta do. I'm like, well, that kind of blew up in my face.
And that's why, you know, I don't think it's right to have us make that decision. It affects way too many, I guess. Because if we vote no, I don't think that's really right either. If we vote for it, we're really saddling all of our city people with a lot of work. And, you know, are they being represented here by everybody? So in order to get the representation that you need, I think it should go through a citywide election. I don't know if we need a motion, you know, to.
Can it just die without a motion?
Do we really need anything here officially?
No.
Okay. So I thank all of you guys for coming and giving your comments. And well, it's certainly give us all something to think about. So thank you. Okay, moving on to the minutes. Everybody have a chance to read the minutes? If so, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
Mayor, may I make a comment? I did have, after proofreading them one last time and it was brought to my attention, I do have one more correction. And that would be on the police committee report of the February 14th minutes. On the 6th paragraph, it should say 28 days, not 128 days. Sorry. So I did already make that correction.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Second. Any discussion on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Planning and zoning, Todd?
Mr. Mayor, council members, we had our regular meeting last evening. Our first order of business was a public hearing for H2O connections for a water pump. Nobody appeared. So we didn't act on it with a lot of discussion and with the girls talking to the attorney's office. We wanted a clarification on how to handle because of a public hearing and the certified letters that have to go to the property owners. We did set a new hearing for next month at our regular meeting. And with the information from the attorney's office, Mr. Wertz will have to resend his certified letters and notify all the adjoining property owners.
Okay.
So we didn't know how to handle it, so that's what that's what the girls did this morning, and they just informed me today that we're gonna handle it that way.
Okay. So we really have nothing to act on there anyway, so.
No.
Right.
That was information only, yes. The next up was a plat of lots from Frontier Development Group, Fred Evans. This would be out by the dog park, kitty corner from the cemetery. He wants to replat a piece of property to sell for commercial usage. It has been surveyed. The plat's been written. It just got sent to the courthouse a couple days ago for their review. So we did not have the original corrected, approved. So we did make a motion to allow myself to sign it upon completion from the courthouse and brought to the city hall.
Okay. And you need approval of that?
Yes, we'd need a motion from you. I would ask that you would do the same motion, that it would be contingent to allow the mayor to sign it upon completion and approval by the courthouse.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Is there a second? Okay. Motion and a second. Any other discussion on it? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Okay, motion carries.
That was all the business we had, unless you have any comments or questions.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Planning and zoning report.
I was waiting. I don't have any approved permits. I do want to let you know there are a couple unapproved permits in my office that I have notified. I just got one today, but that I have notified the other property owners. There will be no approving permits until I can see the ground and do proper measurements. I don't want to be rubber stamping permits and then us look at it later and go, ooh, probably should have thought that through. So I am communicating with those property owners. So you'll see them once they do start getting approved in a month or 6 weeks. They will look like they are 3 or 4 months old because they are. So also I am in Bismarck Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, starting tomorrow for continuing education for the North Dakota Building Officials Association, but I am available by email and phone, so.
Okay. Anything else?
No, sir.
Any questions for Amanda? Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, visitors committee.
Mayor, I don't believe anybody was going to be able to make it here from the visitors committee. You do see there's 2 applications.
Yep.
One for the Montreal County Women in Ag Banquet on April 12th, and one for the 2023 season events concerts for the Civil Center. For the Women in Ag Banquet, that was $3,500, and the one for the Civil Center was $2,000. And the committee did recommend approval for both in the full amounts.
Move to accept the recommendation of the Visitor Fund Committee to approve both of these applications.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay, Bros Engineering updates.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This will be my last meeting. I took a different position with another company in Colorado. Casey will be in my place after this meeting. Casey's more than capable of handling it, just like me. I was supported by staff all throughout my company. And Casey did most of the groundwork anyhow, in all honesty. So just wanted to let everyone know. I think probably everyone already did know, but an official notification. For Country Estates Water, I just have a couple of things on my agenda. JMac said that they were gonna start in the spring, summer of this year. I've been trying to get them to get a schedule so that we could get a task order to make sure that once they do want to get going, we have an agreement with the city to review their submittals, material submittals, schedule a pre-con, make sure that the city wasn't the one holding them up on anything that they wanted to do. I actually got a schedule late Friday after I sent this to Lynn. I haven't dug into it really. But they do want to start in the spring. It's just going to be when conditions allow, I guess. So I have a task order there for roughly $10,000. And the reason why, you wouldn't want bros to maybe charge money to the general is you guys have grant funding from the State Water Commission. You want to make sure you have an agreement in place so that you can get that grant.
Right. Okay.
Move to approve the task order.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion on this? Not hearing any discussion. Lynn, you want to?
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Abstain.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
All right.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Thank you. Up next is the Stanley Phase 2 Capital Improvements Project. There was discussion on the storm drain, whether or not it should be included as part of the project. One of the things that we talked about was getting quotes to have it cameraed to determine the condition of that storm drain. I reached out to 3 contractors, CC Steel, they're actually out of Fargo, Kemper Construction, Minot, and I tried getting a hold of Gustafson Septic, but I did not get a response back from them. That quote is to televise and clean the entire storm drain within the project limits, the trunk line and the lead lines that go to the curb inlets to kind of help determine the condition of that. It's up to you guys, obviously, if you guys want to pursue seeing what that looks like, or if you guys want to go a different route.
I'm just sort of, I'm not a construction guy. So, it's steel sewer system. Is that what you're saying?
The storm drain, so,
Concrete, steel?
Yeah, well, some of it might be concrete and some of it might be steel.
But basically it's to decide if we're gonna tear the streets up, how far to go. Does that kind of give us a?
Yeah, so like, for instance, all your sanitary sewer lines that, the last project and this project, what we're looking at replacing is the really old ones, the ones that are in bad condition. So
is this for all of phase 2, basically, or just a certain?
That quote, these 2 quotes?
Right.
Yeah, so it's for the storm drain running from on 5th Street, right by the highway there.
Yep.
And then it runs all the way to just behind Public Works.
Okay.
So it's from 6th Avenue all the way to right behind Public Works in phase 2 construction limits.
Okay.
It's essentially just a payment check.
Yes.
This current system.
Yep.
And you need a decision on whether.
Their quotes are going to be good for 30 days. I received them last week from them. Whether or not you guys, the city wants to move forward with doing that.
Okay. I guess without looking at a map and, I kind of got an idea of where it is and stuff. None of that was actually scheduled, or that's on that phase 2, right?
So when this capital improvements projects came about in 2018 or 2019, whatever it was 35 blocks, right?
Yep.
So back then, they were talking about, okay, there's a storm drain that runs through that area. So they were looking at replacing that storm drain system in that area. Now, since maybe it was 3 months ago, when I brought up the capital improvements, what is the scope? And Chad and I sat down in this room right over here, and we talked about the storm drain. Whether or not the storm drain should be replaced. You're putting a new blacktop over the top of it.
Okay.
And so at one of those meetings, it was discussed, well, I think it might have been you actually, Mr. Mayor. Well, let's get it cambered and see what the condition is.
Yeah, and I guess I would like to see what the condition is before we do blacktop over the top of it, put new, asphalt over the top of it.
Right.
Because
This is kind of cheap insurance for us to make sure we're not gonna have to tear something.
it is, I'd sure hate to have to tear the street up and for a replacement.
Well, the other thing, if we don't do it, we'll never know what the integrity of that system is.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately the front end of making that decision. If we have to replace that system, then I'd much rather make it based on some factual testing that we do versus just dig it up and change it and then have it be a perfectly fine facility that we tear up.
Right.
I would just say that as a taxpayer, a few things hurt me more than a road that's paved nicely and then 6 months later, 2 months later, they're digging it up to fix something that they should have done. So I'm for this.
That's exactly where I'm at on this. Nothing nicer than a newly paved road.
And
But it sure makes you sick when you have to dig it up to repair something.
And the televising might reveal that there's 20 feet that you should replace.
Right.
Or 2.5 blocks, or maybe all of it.
Well, but that does give us the facts at that point, because those videos that they make, you can see everything with them.
Make a motion to approve the CC Steel bid at $8,237 to camera and record our storm sewer in phase 2.
Second.
Okay, there's motion and a second. Any other discussion on this?
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
And then I'll just talk a little bit more about the phase 2 project. So I'm having a meeting with the North Dakota DEQ tomorrow to do a project handoff. And I've been talking to Evan a little bit for maybe 2 weeks, who's the SRF engineer. He is thinking that the city could possibly, no, it's not a guarantee right now, but rather than reapplying for new loans, increase their loans. And it would just be a matter of getting that okayed by the DEQ, and that's going to save us time putting the loan application together. It's going to save Lynn time putting the loan application and sending it in. And another thing that he talked about was doing an amendment to the environmental document on it. So I just want to keep you guys, and keep that in the back of your minds that, hopefully you guys could just increase your loan amounts. If you guys didn't want to do that and apply for new loans, you definitely sure can. That I don't know. I could ask him.
Well, that'd be a super important question. Because if we have to get a new loan and it's a higher interest rate, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
That interest rate was always held kind of artificially low, and I haven't heard that it's increased even though everything else has, but.
And then the last thing, I did watch the YouTube videos of the previous council meetings just for my knowledge. One of the things that was talked about was like the curb ramps. I'll just caution, just warn you guys, it's kind of like your guys' liability reason that you guys are when you're making these types of improvements. And there was just a conference held in Bismarck where it talks about if you're replacing those curbs, you should be making those curb ramp updates to ADA standards. It really has nothing to do with the funding. You guys are a public entity. It's your responsibility to make that usable for everyone.
You don't have to unless there's federal dollars. Is that correct?
That's not correct. Yeah. And I will say that these SRF loans that you guys are getting is federal money.
Okay.
So just keep that in the back of your guys' mind when you guys are making those kinds of decisions. You really should be trying to make in those improvements. Those, especially if you're doing all the curb, it's really not outside of the scope of the project. So just keep that in mind. I don't want anyone to be liable for anything, right? So, and the last thing, not really much of an update, but the ND8 shared path, no update there. I'm not sure when the lights are going to come. Yeah, I think so. Honestly. They have to check they check with their supplier every time this date comes about. They send me a letter saying that it's moved. So with that, I guess I don't have anything else, but I just want to thank everyone for their time working with you guys. Learned a lot, even the hard conversations. So, yeah, will do.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yes. And I told you those are the best clients that do that. So,
Yeah, I wish you well.
Thank you, Donovan, for
Thank you.
what you've done. So, okay, moving on to gaming permits.
There's one gaming permit. It's for the Montreal County 4-H. The date of the raffle would be March 15th through April 23rd. And there'd be 2 raffles held, one on April 16th and one on April 23rd. And this would be at the Montreal County South Complex.
Motion to approve the permit.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second's been made. Any comment on that? Without that, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, the special event liquor license.
There are 2 liquor license applications, both for the Leader Bar. The first one is on April 1st for the Montreal County Bull Bash, and that will be held at Montreal County Fair Building. The second one is on April 12th for the annual Women and Egg meeting, and that'll be at the South Complex.
Move to approve both liquor license permits.
Okay, George has moved to approve that. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed. Motion carries. Okay, the police committee.
All right, police committee, we had some conversation. I guess we had 2 pieces of business, but we also did receive a letter for the Stanley Public School District that was kind of cool. I don't know if it's worth reading or leaving or just acknowledging it. If I may, I'd like to read it.
Yeah, please.
It says, Dear Chief Litton, on behalf of the entire school district, I want to extend a warm welcome to our community. Congratulations on your appointment as the new chief of police. I look forward to working with you to ensure the safety and well-being of our students and staff. I also want to take a moment to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule on your first day at the job to stop by and introduce yourself. Your visit was greatly appreciated, and it was wonderful to have the opportunity to get to know you and discuss our shared goals for the community. As the superintendent of schools, I'm committed to fostering a strong partnership between our schools and police department. I believe that collaboration and communication are key to ensuring a safe and supportive learning environment for all of our students. Please know that my door is always open to you, and I look forward to continuing our dialogue and working together to make our community the best that it can be. Once again, welcome to our community and best wishes for successful tenure as Chief of Police. Sincerely, Tim Holt. So I thought that was kind of a cool, honorable piece of mail I've gotten. So, the other two pieces of business that the committee had, we were waiting on, trying to think how to phrase it right, but waiting on some numbers from the Department of Labor related to the federal pay for the dog handler position. And so the numbers from the Department of Labor that they relayed to the council and the committee, and these are their numbers figured on, all the stuff that they've received. So coming from the Department of Labor, they relayed to us that the amount due to former Chief Jamerson after exemptions is 155 hours at $41.19 per hour. That turns into $6,384.45. That would be the minimum the city is required to pay. Again, these are the Department of Labor's numbers that we were waiting on, that they have forwarded to us. Let's see. And that number is also subject to withholdings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So
$6,384.45. And the committee recommended to accept that or pay out that amount to square up that deal with the back pay of the canine handling position. Am I missing anything?
Yeah, we're gonna, we have to work with Jamerson about the release. So we're working with him and getting him to sign a release for that amount. So, and we'll get that created. We have it created, so.
Okay. So I think that is the motion from the committee was, to agree to that amount that was set forth by Department of Labor. And that's basically the motion there. I mean, does that need to be contingent on the release and the paper sign?
I would recommend that be
Okay. Okay, and then contingent on the assigned of the release documents.
Okay, we got a motion made. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Any discussion on this? Without hearing any
That number came.
From the Department of
I
Labor.
wasn't at the meeting last night, I was wrong, so.
Yeah.
But that came from the information that was supplied to them from Demetrius, correct?
Yep.
So the hours, essentially his log of time from the beginning of employment with the dog, not from the beginning of his employment, but from day one that he received the dog up to now. It's a few
Yes, we were working with Mr. O'Leary from the U.S. Department of Labor, and a lot of the information he had was given, I believe, from Officer Jamerson. So then that was relayed to us after everything. So we're just relaying what the Department of Labor told us that this city was obligated to pay.
We had the burden of proof to be able to lower that amount, but we just figured it would be easier to pay this amount.
I think this is fair. I mean, if those are the bids that Demetrius offered up to the labor board, and I don't see any reason why we would take their recommendation.
Any other discussion? Elaine?
Lauren?
Aye.
Zach?
Did somebody make a motion?
Yeah, there was a motion in a second.
Ty?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
George?
Aye.
Chad?
All right.
Motion carries unanimously.
Had one more piece of business. So we had some discussion on where canine Dusty should go. And there's some lengthy discussion, had some crowd participation. And we were kicking around, and I guess we had moved to keep the dog with Jamerson, but there was kind of some holdups because we hadn't had anything official from the tribe. But that was the motion, was to sell canine Dusty, to TAT or the tribe to stay with the officer. But hot off the press today, I did receive, and this has been forwarded into the record too, from 3 affiliated tribes. They have made an offer. Let's see. So I don't know if you'd like me to read the whole thing, or just the offer is $5,000 for the dog.
Yeah, go ahead and read it.
Okay, to whom it may concern, we've offered Chief Demetrius Jamerson a position with 3 affiliated tribes law enforcement services. Chief Jamerson is also a certified canine handler and has been his canine for approximately 1.5 years. 3 affiliated tribes law enforcement services would like to keep them together as a team, but at a certain price of $5,000. After speaking with our MHA drug enforcement deputy chief, who has been a longtime canine handler, he advised we are purchasing the canine, and the canines are usually purchased for around $6,000. The training with the handler and the dog average around $12,000. For my years of experience knowing different handlers and canines, I believe it is the best interest of the canine to continue working together rather than having multiple handlers with one canine. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you for your time. Respectfully, Clifton Whitman Jr. It says TATLES Captain. I don't know if they actually call it Tattles, but it says Tattles Captain.
Okay.
So I believe it's the intention of the committee to make that recommendation to sell the canine with to TAT for $5,000.
Okay, is that a motion?
That is a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think this is probably the right move on our part. This is the cleanest direction that we can take with the dog, because until we have an officer that is certified, I guess is probably the correct, holler if you think that's the wrong wording, I guess, but to just kennel it, what's that? Qualified, there you go. To kennel it or to keep it around for that unknown amount of time is ridiculous.
Not only that, but I mean, it was explained to us the other night that there is a bond between that dog with Dusty and Demetrius. And I just think that bond means something too, so. I think we're doing the right thing. Any other comments?
I just was worried at the beginning because we didn't have an official offer. That's why I didn't think that we should act on it. But now that we have an official offer from TAT, I think that we should definitely move to sell Dusty.
Okay. We have a motion and we have a second.
I guess I do have one question, because I came in on the back end of the meeting last night, and that was about in the middle of this discussion. What is the soonest that we can make this happen?
Well, I mean, we can, personally, I think we can trust Demetrius. I mean, he's going to keep the dog with him. I think that's the right thing to do.
I'm thinking we have the offer, we have the motion, we have a second. And
Immediately?
I think if we could contact him and he'd be willing to come tonight to pick him up.
I believe he's out of town.
Is he out of town? Okay. All right. So then that's a non-issue. As soon as he comes back to town, I think it would be best to get him in his hands.
Yep.
So how are we taking care of him right now?
He's currently being housed by officers.
Okay. So you're cool with that for this little short window till Demetrius is back in town?
Yes, so currently Dusty has been in my physical care since last Thursday. There was a potential agreement between me and owners of Jamerson.
Okay.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Lynn, please.
Lauren,
Hi.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
Setting it up. Motion carries unanimously. Absolutely.
He asked me if I would do. As I said, this is on behalf of Chief Linton. First, I'd like to apologize for my absence for tonight's meeting. I was on a prearranged vacation out of town with my family. With that being said, Lieutenant James has agreed to read this letter to the City Council on my behalf. I really wish I could have been at this meeting because I would have loved to take a few minutes, introduce myself to the City Council and our community members. To briefly explain my experience, I have nearly 19 years of experience as a law enforcement officer. I have worked for both small and large agencies in Arizona, Oregon, and North Dakota. Now moving on to the main reason I asked Lieutenant Jenkins to read this letter is to address the topic of Dusty. This is prior to an arrangement being made at last night's meeting.
Okay.
During my career, I have had a lot of interactions with canine handlers and have assisted with canine training, but have never received training to be a handler myself. Over the past few days, I've made numerous phone calls and have spoken with friends who are still working as canine handlers. One of the people I spoke with regarding Dusty is a canine trainer out of Buffalo, Minnesota. This trainer currently works with numerous law enforcement agencies, including the Minot Police Department. During this conversation, we talked about reassigning Dusty to a new handler, the possible costs, and the other possible challenges associated with that option. There were also numerous other options discussed due to the current setup of the agency and lack of experienced handlers. It would be impossible to put Dusty to work right away in your concerns of where Dusty would be and what he would be doing. I am very concerned about Dusty's well-being if the wrong decision is made right now, although I firmly believe that there is a need for a canine in our community. I feel it would be in the best interest of Dusty to come up with another option than reassigning him to a different handler. I understand that Mr. Jamerson has accepted employment with 3 affiliated tribes police department, and they have offered to purchase Dusty, which would allow him to stay with Mr. Jamerson. With all this being said, I would respectfully ask the City Council to agree to the sale of Dusty to the 3 affiliated tribes. I would also ask that the money from the sale of Dusty be reserved for the selection of a new canine and handler for our department when the time is right. And that was from Chief Linton.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I guess we're moving on from there. Okay, Employment Committee.
So the employment committee met on Monday, 6th. And present was myself, Zach, and then we had Lynn in there, and Chad was gone. First discussion was our part-time assistant, Dan Gustafson. She has completed her 6-month probation. And after discussion, a motion was made by myself, second by Zach, to recommend a 50-cent increase for Ann. So I would make that a motion to approve 50 cents increase for Ann Gustafson.
Second.
Motion and a second's been made. Any discussion?
What is her current salary?
She currently is at $20 an hour. Obviously, she's part-time and she receives no benefits as full-time employees do.
Okay, any other discussion? Glenn, please.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
The second order of business was we did some interviews for city assessor position. We interviewed 2 applicants. After much discussion, actually, The committee recommended offering the city assessor job to Brianna Dizelle at a starting annual wage of $45,000 with a $1,000 increase after 6-month probation. So just to add on to this, Brianna is, she's originally from this area. She is, let's see.
Heard the name.
From the Belden area. Her Stacy Dizelle's daughter.
Did she work at Hardware Hank at one time?
I don't know.
Okay. This
But,
one, sorry.
Connie Bohr,
Okay.
Belden area. I believe that's her grandmother. So anyways, Brianna, right now in her position, she's working at a bank in Minot, and she was very knowledgeable in a lot of things. She's working on loans, mortgage loans and so forth. So she deals a lot with assessing already. So, I mean, it was just amazing what she already knows. I mean, yeah, she has to get certified, but she already knows.
But she's a fit.
What, oh, she's a very good fit. So I would make a motion to approve her starting salary at $45,000, and then after the 6-month increase it to $1,000.
Okay, a motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Without hearing any discussion, Lynn, please.
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach,
Aye.
Ty,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
George,
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
And that's all we had.
Okay. Before we get into the Public Works Committee, since it's already been 90 minutes, we're going to take a short recess of 10 minutes. So. Oh.
All of them.
During this time. too bad. So you, we're in Florida?
No, we were in Nashville, I'm not Nashville, we're both from Texas.
Well, it was warmer, right?
It was, on Friday it was 90 degrees. Today, and then after, it was pouring rain.
Yeah, I gotta get up. So you enjoyed it. I know, I was gonna be like, I forgot about it so long ago.
We're good.
What's he doing?
He's married, he's got 2 kids. They live on a farm that I really like.
Okay.
He works for.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so it's Todd's son. He has a. And then their son-in-law has a water. He's just funny business.
Nothing there on this, huh?
Yeah, and it was really cool, it's just,
That's awesome.
things are a little different.
But you know what though? That's what Bill Gates and all those guys. So you gotta love that. Yeah. Maybe you can ask them for money.
Right, someday I might.
Yep, see ya. I tried to hold it. I couldn't hold it. I had to go to the bathroom. I couldn't even concentrate. You're reading the police committee. You're not getting this. Yeah. So do you know Dave Mitten used to live with that, the old, I lived, that was my house when I grew up as a kid. And then my parents sold it to Dave. And then Dave ended up redoing it all and fixing it. His daughters were right? Oh, did you really? Which way? The south? Okay, so the neighbor that used to live there was Johnson. Tim Johnson used to live there. Yeah, he used to live in town, right next to us. Yeah. Yes, yeah. We used to have, when I was in high school, my parents would go to the Quades, so they'd leave us all alone. And we would always have parties. And Tim and Jan never ratted us out.
Which house were you?
On that corner. Yep. Mhm. And I don't know why they didn't, but they didn't tell anybody.
I still remember it. I can't remember anything else, but I remember Scott Johnson's home.
What was yours? So you know yours. Oh, yeah. Now you don't even remember anybody's number. It's all on your phone. Like I've had clients that are like, I couldn't call you because I didn't have my phone to call you.
I still remember like high school, like your
Yeah. Yeah.
I just still remember so much neat jeans that they had those moccasins with no socks and it's tight gold.
Yeah.
The baggy jeans, I remember like some people with socks and it was like moccasins.
Yep.
Tight gold.
Oh, yeah.
Hammer pants.
Yeah, he was in the Vanilla Ice stage for a while there. He doesn't like me to bring that up.
You're like when you have the Cold Wars, like Pepsi, Coke, you know, like all that Max Headroom, all that stuff.
Yep.
Or like a wild night, it's like, go to quick message. Hot stuff gets lean.
Yeah.
Really making health wars.
You'd go to dealers.
Oh, yeah.
Dealers, you'd go to dealers.
Video game.
I mean, that was a good, you were a long way. We'd always go there and get 3 or 4 movies.
Morning, go Dairy Queen, park all the way, and just walk up Dairy Queen.
Yeah.
And there was no seating.
Yeah. Well, they did add on.
You ever wait your kick yours?
Yeah, he had it on. My wife worked there. Yep. Yeah.
Whatever you
And I was on vacation with my brother. Remember Michelle Brown, like, bouncing me out of the class at all rain, and I started like, pop over Shannon. Shannon Gannon had huge veins in the car, and I was like, a kid trying to like, choose it. It's like, he had veins against the dark veins coming out of the way, you know. I remember ice.
He lived up on,
Yeah.
right by Aaron. Nelson.
But I just remember being like, the kids were like, you know, like, they were 11 years old.
Anytime? Okay, we are back in session. Public Works Report. Brady, you're up.
Is this thing on? Yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right, first thing we have was the 2 quotes for the light towers. And the one we wanted to go with was the one from Blue Book. Just a little bit of info about it. It goes up to, you can raise it up to 23 feet high. It can rotate 360 degrees around. It's got a 40-gallon diesel tank. And it provides about 20,000 square foot of coverage. So, I mean, you're going to be able to see a lot if we have to use it at night, like if we have to keep working for the water breaks and stuff. So, and it's also a generator. So,
is that 10,000, that
Yep.
generator?
Yep. 10,900.
No, but I mean, 10,000 watt. That's the light, so, but usually they have a pretty good sized generator on them, so. Is it 6?
When I looked at them, there was a lot of them that were at 6 kilowatt.
Yeah, some are 10 depending on, but.
Says 60 hertz engine.
That is the one that you're looking for?
Yeah, that's the one that we wanted to go with. It's a little bit cheaper than the other one too.
Okay.
I believe that's already approved up to 15,000.
Yeah.
So,
On this page, it says it's,
Kind of your choice on that.
so what, right?
on this page, it says it's a 60 hertz generator.
Yeah, that's 60 hertz is just what electricity in the United States runs at. That's yours. KW is, I bet it's a 60.
Yeah, it says up
Over here it
to
says 16
6
kilowatt.
kilowatt.
Okay.
Right under the 60.
Yeah,
It's already
it's,
approved, yeah, oh my gosh.
All right. And the next thing was our, so after our last 2 water breaks, we did like a inventory of a bunch of stuff that we have on hand and stuff that we need for water breaks, basically. So this was a list of like pipes, water pipes, sewer pipes, gate valves, curb stops, a bunch of stuff like that that we feel we should order so that we have on hand in case, you know, we never know when we're going to get another one. So the first quote from Core & Main, that's who we usually get it from also, by the way. That one was a little bit cheaper than the one from Ferguson, quite a bit cheaper, actually. And the reason I didn't order it already was because it was a lot more expensive than what I thought it was going to be. So
And just to help Brady out a little bit on this, the coordinating, what he said is normally where they have been buying their parts.
Yep.
But I asked him to do a price check on it, just so that we can have that transparency. That we're not just going with the company that we've always done work with because we like it. Basically, it was like a mini RFP, if you will,
Yeah.
put on by us, so.
Well, they're both good
They're
companies.
both good companies, and, thanks, Ray, for taking the extra time to compare apples to apples, but as you can see, it's $6,000 savings.
Yep.
But,
Well, and I think it's really good to have this stuff on hand because we don't know.
Right.
Especially with spring coming, you're gonna see a lot more water breaks. I can guarantee you.
Don't say that.
That frost is gonna be down there, so.
that was not approved, that number, but I would make a motion to approve the quarantine quote for the parts and material that Ray suggested.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Brady?
Okay, and the last thing was a quote to trade in our snow pusher that we still have, that went on our backhoe that we got rid of a few years ago. We can trade that in and get a brand new one for $75.50. And the reason why we want to do that is because when we come in early to move snow, when it's just us and we don't have all the other trucks in, what we do is we use the 3 loaders and the grader and push all the snow on Main Street and first, second, and third into piles, and then we bucket it to the snow dump. So it would just make it a lot easier and faster to use the snow pusher to push it the length of the street than just the bucket on the loader. The snow pusher, it's 12 feet wide and 42 inches tall, and it connects right to the loader, just like the buckets do. So it's a lot better than the old one where we had to connect it with chains and straps, and it would slide
Yeah,
around.
they're
It doesn't stay in
Much
one place.
quicker and nicer.
Yeah. So
Is there a motion to?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
all right.
Have you got anything else, Brent, Brady?
Um,
Because I've got something, I guess, to tell you. I want everybody to know just how great a job you guys have done, and I want you to take it back to all the people working for you. You guys did a fantastic job on this snow removal. And I think you deserve a round of applause.
Well, we appreciate it, and I'll let them know. We're trying, we're working hard, so I'll let them know.
Thank you for your work.
Yeah, and thank you guys. So,
Okay, attorney updates. Now, do we have to pay you by the hour as soon as you start talking? No.
Yes. We are working on a unemployment claim filed by John Tronset. We're just working on a response. So. We are working on a claim by John Tronson for unemployment claim. So we're working with, on a response to the claim. So other than that, nothing else.
Okay. Council concerns. Lauren,
Nope.
Zach,
I'm good.
Ty,
I am good.
Linda.
No, I'm good.
George,
I'm good too.
Chad.
I have nothing.
Okay, with that said, judges report. Has everybody had a chance to look at that? Ty held it up. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the judge's report?
So, second?
Okay. Chad had the motion, Ty second. Any discussion? Not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign for opposed. Motion carries. Bills. The bills for March 2023.
We've got one question, and take it at face value. I happened to sit in on the Avalon meeting, I believe it was last month. And they checked with the local laundry service in Stanley, and they evidently are doing rugs because the ambulance building switched over to their service.
Okay.
And it was a considerable amount of money per month. Now, I don't know if the ambulance bought their own rugs, just having cleaning done there or what, but the way they made it sound that it went down by $600 or $500 and some bucks a month. Did you hear that? So I mean, maybe that's something like, this is, we have a local service that offers it right here, and we can say. Not, I mean, that's not saying that air market don't have, I don't know if it places offline.
This would be putting the money back in our own community, right?
Yeah, they're local business.
Yep.
It's free to chat there.
Yeah, I guess my only comment is that obviously through Airmark, we also get our toilet paper, our paper towels, all of that. And of course, all of our equipment in the bathroom is actually on like a lease or rent. So I guess I'm not sure how that would have to be dealt with, but you know, and I'm guessing, so just, they would just do the rugs though.
Yeah, that's what. Just change it.
So they
Just
still,
the rug service.
but they stayed with Airmark for their paper supplies and,
So is that how you guys do yours too? Because the hospital.
There's a lot of different options on the paper side versus the rug side, but
Well, Dakota Paper offers a complete line of stuff for the bathrooms and stuff as well, so.
Just the thought, maybe that's a place that we can look for some.
Yep.
if it
Okay,
would
the
be
bills
helpful,
for
then I can
March.
send you some names. If it'd be helpful, I can send you some names.
Any other discussion on the bills for March? If not, can I get a motion?
Move to pay the bills.
Thank you, Joe. Motion and a second's been made. Any further discussion? If not, Elaine?
Lauren,
Aye.
Zach.
Aye.
Ty.
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
George.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Okay. With that done, I could use a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, a motion to adjourn by Chad, second by George. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you all for coming.